Okay. Huh.
This is my late mentor's office.
Oh,
So it's a lot of VHS tapes and Civil War books,
hmm.
Wild West books. Yeah, he was a history buff.
Interesting.
Yeah. So how's everything with you?
Oh, shit. So when I ran that half marathon a few weeks ago, like I didn't feel quite recovered from it, so I took some days off, and like my foot started hurting after it, and then it hurt. Like so, I took some days off, and I tried again this week, and freaking hurt, and it's still hurting. So I'm trying to take more days off, and it's like my whole plan's down the drain in terms of my training schedule. So I'm just like, I don't know.
Lift weights instead.
Yeah, I probably should put in some other something that you don't have to pound on your feet with. But
I recommend just working on your abdominals. Get that tight.
yeah, maybe I'll pick that up on Monday. So I'm trying to take for this round. I don't know. I'm probably just gonna take because the marathon's about a month out. So at this point, I'm kind of like I just got to take off until my foot's better and try to do whatever I can recover afterwards. But it's just such a weird. I don't know if it's plantar fasciitis. It doesn't seem to have the I don't know. It doesn't seem to have the symptoms of it, but
It's frustrating, ain't it?
yeah, it's super frustrating.
Where
Like,
your mind wants to go, and your body is like,
well, man, it sucks because it's like all the way from freaking the end of November, I didn't miss a beat other than one run, I think. And I hit that half marathon, and I'm like, I got done. I'm like, oh yeah, I did great. Like I shaved 3 minutes off my best time. I'm like golden. Now I'll just keep climbing, and here I am, like basically unable to run. Like a couple weeks later, fucking, it's disheartening. I feel crushed, but whatever. Hopefully, I can heal up, and I mean, I'm gonna run the marathon. I don't care what the hell it is. I'm gonna run it, but I guess I'll see how much I can keep building by the end of June, mid June.
hmm.
How about you? How's your week?
This dude literally has a VHS library.
Like of like regular movies?
Oh, let me see. Man, we got a movie with DMX, and it's not even opened.
Hmm.
Gangs of New York. It's not open. It's still in shrink wrap.
Hmm.
Yeah, he died in 2013, I think. So,
Did he have a spouse then? Is he good friends with her or what? Or
yeah, yeah. So he was my professor for like 3 or 4 of my classes in
mhm.
community college, and I'm a slow learner, or I was a slow learner, but so I used to always just show up for office hours, and he took a liking to me, and he even like started tutoring me in like physics and other courses like discrete mathematics. He would invite me over to his home, and we just, I don't know. He took a liking to me, and we just started bonding. He introduced me to gambling at casinos and stuff. He had a how's this work? He had a master. I think he had a master's in mathematics. Um, he was extremely, obviously he was a professor, so he was extremely like just sharp. German, very structured. He would Every time you go to a gas station, he would maintain a handwritten journal of the gas prices and the dates.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's just very methodical. You know those Germans.
Yeah,
So
German engineering.
uh,
Hi, Gamler. Um,
I realized that I thought I had Italian in me. I thought my great grandfather is Italian. Nope, but he's still white. But you would never guess. I'll give you three guesses.
oh, so you found out what he is?
No, I'm talking about my ethnicity.
Or no, I mean, but your great grandpa, you said he was white.
Yeah, well, I knew that. I thought he was
So,
Italian.
okay, so you thought he was Italian. What is color hair does he have?
I don't know.
Do you know what color eyes he had? No, probably not if you didn't know his hair color.
If I could guess, his hair color is probably reddish.
Okay, so it's Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Why do you say Scottish?
Huh? Well, I guess Scottish could be too, but
Uh,
I don't know. I think of Irish first when I think of red hair, but might be my second guess.
yeah. So that was interesting.
Hmm.
Because like my dentist, they'd be like, "Oh, you have some like European like skeleton features in your face." I'm like, I don't know.
You don't look black enough, man. What are you? What are you? Where do you
Well,
originate
I
from?
mean, like because when they're inside your jaws, they notice like the structure of your bones and how certain ethnicities tend to be prone to certain conditions and stuff like that.
Hmm. This is your grandpa on your mom's side or your dad's side?
On my mother's side.
Other side. Hmm.
Uh, anyways, how far is Cleveland from Minnesota or Minneapolis? I know you're 2 hours
Long
outside
ass away.
Minneapolis. Uh,
I had to take a. I took a not Cleveland, Minnesota. There apparently is a Cleveland, Minnesota.
there's a Cleveland, Texas.
It is 13 hours to get there by car.
That's crazy. I've been in a wedding in Minneapolis. I mean, Minneapolis looked like a clean city. Well, I was in the burbs. I don't know what specific town I was in, but
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't know. I haven't been down to the cities in a while. I mean it was getting pretty. I don't know, the whole George Floyd thing. Like I feel like it kind of like messed up some of Minneapolis, but
well, Minneapolis isn't a failed state. Like, or isn't Minnesota is not a failed state like California, um, or is it Oregon or Oregon?
Oregon. I don't know. I don't know if
Oregon.
that's I don't know which was the correct pronunciation. I always say Oregon or Oregon. I don't know. I use them interchangeably.
Yeah. So Portland's a failed city. New York is a failed city. San Francisco is a failed city. Seattle's a failed city. You know what they all have in common?
Yeah. Well, Minnesota's got a lot of that too. Um,
A lot of liberals,
yeah,
Democrats that keep voting for the same policy and getting the same result post Reagan.
yeah. There's enough. I don't know. Minnesota's
Should I say post Clinton?
yeah. Minnesota. I mean, we've had a Republican governor before, and we've had I don't know. We've got just like enough of that to keep it somewhat sane, but I don't know. Um, it's uh, it's a struggle though. Yeah. Yeah. Going camping this weekend again. In fact, I took the day off. So
When did you go camping last time? I feel like it was recent.
yeah, I went last weekend.
Oh,
Probably be. I got a new camper. I don't know if I.
yeah, we had a conversation. It was like wood grain.
Yeah, yeah. I bought it. It's really nice. It's going to last. last week. We'll go this week. I think we go next week. I don't know if we're going the week after, but it'll be one of these things where, well, we sunk a bunch of money into it, so we probably should go as much as we can again. Excuse me.
Is a doctor of philosophy at Case Western Reserve.
He was,
I'm looking at
in
his
addition to
degree.
math.
Yeah,
Oh no, it's a yeah, it's a doctorate of philosophy. Okay, in math.
that
Yeah,
doesn't
because
that doesn't make sense. Who gets a worthless? Am I misunderstanding?
it
Who?
might. No, I wonder if it's one of those things like because you get a bachelor of science or you get a bachelor of arts. You don't get like your degree. What you actually got doesn't matter. So I wonder if it's one of those things. Like
Uh,
maybe it's a doctor of philosophy is anything that's not doctor of medicine.
it's Case Western. You heard of Case Western Reserve? It's a very expensive college. It's like
Oh well, yeah, doctor of philosophy is a PhD. Philosophy, PhD,
I don't see
doctor.
computer science or mathematics on there. I just see doctor of philosophy.
That's what. Yeah, I don't know why it skipped my brain, but yeah, it's
And now it's May.
PH is philosophy, and then D is doctor. So your any PhD is a philosophy of a doctor of philosophy.
Okay, it's May 31st, 1978. That's when it's dated.
So yeah, I think he can get a you can get a PhD in math, and it's a doctor of philosophy in math. Like what you don't have a bachelor of computer science, right?
Well, mine's I have a BS, a Bachelor of
Yeah,
Science.
bachelor of science, but it's not a bachelor of computer science.
Yeah, so you saw my dog Cookie, right?
Oh, you gotta. Oh, I
Yeah, her
think I
her
might have seen pictures. Yeah.
her ashes are here,
Oh,
or her urn, should I say?
yeah. She's a pretty dog.
Uh, ugh. Yeah. Anyways, I been up here for what's today? Today's Friday. I've been up here since like Tuesday. And I was suffering from withdrawal. So at like 7 in the morning yesterday, I was just in the front yard in the driveway doing calisthenics, just push ups and planks, and people walking their dogs looking at me. Like, who's this? Obviously, I'm in the burbs. So,
They'll think a squatter took over his house.
it's happened to me before. Yeah. I remember one time, it was like five. It was like 5 in the morning. I'm not sure if I was packing up to go on a road trip to like Pennsylvania when I was a contractor, or if I had just got back from the airport. Man, this white dude rode up on me early in the morning when I was like either putting luggage in the car or getting luggage out the car, and he just stopped the car at the end of the driveway and just stared at me for a good 15 seconds. I looked at him. I just carried on doing what I was doing. He finally just pulled off.
Hmm.
So
You know what you got to do is you got to get dark rim glasses, and you'll be fine.
I need to put a hood on like Trayvon.
It's no, it's like if you it's like your Superman to Clark Kent for black people if you wear
Uh,
dark rim glasses.
well, the God, the worst
Everyone thinks you're a reverend, and then they leave you alone.
probably. I lost. I mean, I remember my dog got loose out here, and obviously she was running random backyards of houses, and
Yeah.
I did not want to go in anybody's backyard and get shot. That is a permission slip to get shot. So. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to get your black rim glasses emergency kit.
I wish everybody can experience being of another ethnicity just for like 1 week, and I think the world would be a more understanding society.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, no matter how hard you try to set an example in life for your children and for your peers, etc., there's always people in your demographic that will try their hardest unconsciously to not want to progress the culture, right? So, for example, every time, and people give me a hard time for this, I don't care, right? Every time I just happen to like just go out on the streets and I don't know, maybe even public transportation, if I want to take like a trolley, man, it could be a predominantly white area, and it's always that one like black guy that is mentally ill that's screaming to the top of his lungs, messing it up for me, right? And I don't know, it just gets it's unfortunate that no matter what, we've come a lot further in society. And like we have, I would argue, the same opportunities that you have now, but the stereotype still persists because some people just don't want to. I don't know. I feel like some people just want to encourage it, and I don't know how to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it in terms of like, I don't know. There's probably a cross section of like cultural things where you know, especially white people get nervous about black people, but it when even but that's true of even a lot of white people themselves. So it's like if I saw like a white guy with kind of scrawny and kind of taller and like I don't know, just like wearing not so nice clothes and just walking around, like I might get a little nervous about that person.
You know what I do?
But
This is I'm not apologetic. Anytime I see a white homeless person, I'm like, oh, I'm glad he wasn't black. I'm not going to apologize for that
no,
because
no, don't, man.
look, I spent a lot of time and resources living where I live, and then like I'll see a person that's wrapped in the same color I'm wrapped in the same area that I'm reasonably confident didn't do what I did to try to have the same opportunities. They probably literally just put him on a bus from another state and shipped him to Miami. And like, dude's like mentally ill and screaming to the top of his lungs in a predominantly white or Latin area. And it's just, he just persists the stereotype and it's just annoying. They say in prison, like, the people that, the people that come from your tribe, skin color, whatever, like they can't be weak, right? And if they are, then you gotta handle that, right? But that's in prison, right? I don't think that works in society. How do you how do you enforce or be an enforcer of having strong, black, intelligent men that lead, right? That push versus television, social media that continues to program, especially victims of single parent moms, right? And I said victims of single parent moms, in which they keep trying to push this narrative to keep us ignorant, to keep us well ignorant. And it's annoying. I'll get off the topic, but it's always something that has bothered me, and I wish with the opportunities that we have now, we can finally just be done with it. So
Yeah, yeah, we'll we'll get there.
we won't.
I mean, we won't, but
As long
maybe
as
our
the
kids
as
will.
long as the government, state and federal, rewards single parent moms and has policies to keep men out of the home by financially incentivizing women to be independent and strong, it's not going to happen. So
Yeah, but that's not a unique trait to African Americans, though. That's happening within. There's a lot of there's a lot of people that aren't that way. I think it's maybe that it's hit black homes more because of the incarceration rate and stuff, but it's
yeah,
but there's plenty of divorces and stuff. I think maybe that I don't know. Maybe white women just remarry quicker. Who knows? There's just not enough. There's just not enough uh, wimpy black guys for black ladies to marry when they leave there.
Simps. They're well. Point taken.
So you just need more like
Their marriage rate is higher with Caucasians.
yeah.
So
And I don't know why that is, but uh,
I would argue that in general, you could argue. I mean, you could help me understand. Well, I would argue. I would think that in general, there's probably more. I don't know. What I wanted to say was that there's more white conservatives than black conservatives, and I think that is true.
yeah, I'd say so probably.
And to be conservative would be to get married,
Yeah.
especially in 2024.
Yeah, I wonder if it is more as a percentage or not. Because I mean, there's definitely a lot less, you know, black people overall. And then I wonder if you take the percentage of that are conservative. I mean, they say that they're predominant, like you get the feeling that they're mostly predominantly very liberal, but I don't know that they're liberal as much as they are just not Republican, if that makes sense. Like I feel like it's always like a voting for a Democrat thing, but if you ask an average, you know, black person their views on things, I'm guessing that most of it's not going to be a progressive viewpoint. It's going to be a more of a conservative viewpoint. I mean,
When you get into white collar black folks, it's a greater likelihood that they are conservative.
so they
But
vote
but but
Republican,
I but I think that's obviously it's not common, right?
yeah, but what I guess like what I'm saying is that there's conservative Republicans, and then there's more liberal Republicans, and there's libertarian Republicans. There's a lot more, I think, libertarian Republicans than there are libertarian Democrats. And I wonder, like, if you just took Joe Schmo, you know, African American kid off the street and you asked them their views, and you just went down a list of them, it's like how much of their views actually align to conservative ideals versus liberal ideals or libertarian ideals over statist.
I would argue it depends on how old they are.
Because I just
So
don't even know. I mean, like,
one of the greatest quotes that I've heard from my late mentor was he was like, Scott, when you're young, you want to change the world. And when you're older, you don't want the world to change. And that is so true. Like
yeah,
you just want stability. You don't want things to change from underneath you. You're more fragile as you
yeah, I
grow.
suppose because that's kind of the conservative mindset is that you want to be cautious about change and what the great thing is that creates like this really great yin and yang in society where you have some people that are trying to push and some people that are trying to hold back, and it's in terms of progression towards I don't know what though. What's that progression towards? Eventually, is it just being what? I've always wondered that, like, you're progressing towards what? Why do you say that?
I don't
You
think
know,
it's progress at all if we're talking
yeah.
about Western culture.
I mean, there's certainly,
Look what has been prioritized in Western culture.
yeah,
I, I think I don't have to say it, but what what did Obama push hardest for, right? And yeah, so Western culture cares more about sexuality than anything. That's what they call progress.
yeah. We're what about 14 days away?
From what?
Rainbows.
Oh, Pride Month.
Uh, just hop on any site. The rainbows.
No, man, Miami Beach. Oh my God, man! I swear to God, they have it like every 2 months. There's some type of event. Like, can y'all just consolidate this to like a month?
Mm, yeah, they did. Well, yeah, I suppose with Miami, it's different though. If you're having it every other week.
I'll still stand on it, man. That it's counterintuitive to say that sexuality is something that you're born with, and it's not. It doesn't come with maturity over time. And if that is the case, and if people do stand on that, then pedophiles do not belong in prison because it's not their choice. They were born that way. But no one wants to go there. It's such a double standard. Don't get me wrong. I'm not rooting for pedophiles. I'm not.
Yeah, no,
But
no,
what I am saying is there's a double standard. So make your decision on, is it something that is innately your identity that you have no choice, right? It is engraved in your DNA. That is who you are. As soon as my sperm penetrates the egg, sexuality is already determined, right? Even if it's a pedophile. If that's the
yeah,
case, then you shouldn't be imprisoning people. You should just be keeping them away
no.
from.
So that I think the problem with that is that the comparison isn't a valid thing because it has to do with consent of of so, so crime is really should be about you as one individual harming some other individual, and nothing else should be a crime. Like it should always have this thing of within society that you're doing harm upon your neighbor, and that's a very libertarian viewpoint. Now,
Well,
if you take someone
it's
who's a pedophile, that's a
eventual. It's harm and eventual harm or imminent
lem-
harm.
somebody who is innately a pedophile. Let's just say they're born that way, but they never act on it. They have the restraint to never do anything like that. I don't
Okay.
know. Do you still call them a pedophile even if they have the urges?
Well, yeah, if because if you find child porn on their computer
Well,
or
no,
on their
that's
phone,
harm still because they're
how's it harm?
they're
They're
complicit in something that harmed an individual of a youth individual. Like the way that we've just decided that that would harm somebody at that age. Um,
because they're because they have a digital copy of the act being performed.
yeah, yeah, that's.
They're
I
a
mean, it's
victimizer.
yeah, you're complicit in it. It's it's part of being part of the crime, basically.
I don't think I agree with that. Uh, what? Don't get me wrong. Obviously, I'll
I
say
mean,
that.
we're getting into technicalities, and maybe it's not worth going down that road.
No,
But
no. Let's go down that road. Unless you're like, no,
yeah.
my face is being shown, and I don't want to do
No,
this.
no, no. I think it's you're complicit in the crime. It's a crime to have it now. I get what you're saying is that there's no direct
They're in the
harm.
they're in the privacy of their own home, and they're not the ones that are
Well, in
physically
that
taking
moment where
advantage
it's
of
taken,
a child.
yeah, I mean, in that moment where that's created, that person's being harmed, and then like, yeah,
H-
for the purposes
How is
of
that different than us watching or me
no, no, no,
watching?
but it was created for the purposes of someone to view it. Like, I don't know, it's yeah,
It's created as entertainment, so people could get their dopamine hit
but it's
in one way or another, right?
through victimization, though, you know.
Yeah, but how's that different from? I mean, how's that different from people just paying for Netflix or paying for a documentary that also shows victimization of people? Like people profit from sharing information, especially visual. So how is that any different?
Hmm.
No, it's not. I'm not trying. I'm not trying to be right. I'm just saying, like, I don't. if you're doing it within the privacy of your own home and you're not going out with a rape band and a little puppy trying to lure kids to the van and say, "Hey, you want to pet the puppy?" Then
Yeah, it's not right, but
I don't
it's
think
yeah.
there's a crime. But remember
In terms of harm, yeah,
earlier
yeah.
I said that there's a propensity. You're either there's either going to be a victim or inevitably there's going to be a victim. Not necessarily by that person, but just by the practice in general. So like drugs, right? Someone, and this is another thing, right? If one gender says my body, my choice, okay, well the same thing should be applicable towards drugs, right? So you can't use that argument, right?
Well, yeah.
Um,
No,
and
I'm fine with.
well, I'm not.
I mean,
So
I don't want people to, but there's no problem with me.
yeah, but the thing is when one person in economics, all right, I forgot what the I forgot what it's called, right? I think it's something paradox, something paradox, right? There's a name to it in which the suffix is paradox. Is if you're at a baseball game or a basketball arena and one person stands up amongst a crowd of people that are sitting down, it's not as much of a problem, right? But when everybody's doing it, it becomes an issue, right? And I think
Yeah,
it's the same thing with drugs. Is you may have a fully functional meth head or a fully functional crackhead, right? But what percentage of people can literally work a 9 to 5 job and be a productive member of society without breaking into cars, without stealing, taking advantage of people, so that to maintain their nervous system so that it doesn't go out of rack or withdraw? Like a very small percentage, if that. Right, and I think the same argument is towards what we're talking about. If we're talking about pedophilia, however you pronounce that word, it's yeah, you may have a small percentage of individuals, or maybe even half the individuals that can maintain and not physically go out into the world and take advantage of children. But what's the probability that um, a significant number, a large enough number, goes out and does that? And I would say it would be high. If someone thinks they could get away with it, they'll do it.
yeah.
Same thing
I
with cheating.
I mean, swinging back to the original thing is what I was saying, that like w- let's ignore the whole child pornography thing for a second, but like
All right, that's fine.
if you're just talking about someone who never acts on it, and let's say it includes, because the questionability of harm of viewing something that someone, yeah, there's maybe something there to discuss, but that's different from two consenting adults doing something that's not harming either of them, and so it's not really fair to say like eh, pedophilia should be okay you know because gays are okay. It's a different thing, because pedophilia its own in its state is a crime. Like it's criminal, and it's taking advantage of someone. I mean, now you could say like
It
what's the age of consent? There's questions of those things. But let's ignore all that. Let's just say that no kid would ever consent.
it is a crime when you actually do physically take advantage of a child.
Hmm.
I agree with that. Where I disagree is if you're in the privacy of your own home and we use the argument that you're born this way, right? So if a homosexual is born a
Yeah.
homosexual, then a pedophilia, I can't enunciate.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
help me. They're born a pedo if we're using that logic,
Yeah.
which means that they should not be thrown in prison for being in the privacy of their own home, watching little kids get rammed in. That's sick. Obviously they prison's not the place for them. I'm not saying that being free, but they I don't have the solution, but if we're going to use the argument that you're born a certain sexual orientation, then you don't throw people that are born a certain sexual orientation in prison.
Okay.
That's
So
my
you could,
argument.
yeah, you could concede then. I could maybe concede that if they like being in a mental hospital or in some sort of hospital or whatever with the porn scenario when they've never done anything else, that's maybe a better place than jail, right? Um, but
So
if they've acted on it, then jail makes sense to me.
yeah,
I mean,
but
if they've acted on it and towards
you
direct
say
harm on somebody.
you
Yeah.
say mental hospital.
I don't know. What do you do with some? Because
I mean, I don't have the right word, but
yeah.
like if
So why
someone
are we trying to fix them? Is what you're saying at all?
no,
Yeah.
like I'm not. You're not yin and I'm yang. I understand your argument, and what I'm
I
saying
just
is you gotta keep children safe.
yeah
But the other part of my argument is, especially when I gave the analogy or illustration of fully functional meth heads or crackheads, that they can still, a very small percentage may be a productive member of society, right? But the vast majority are not going to be. Within 60 months or 5 years, like something's going to happen, right? And that's my argument. And the same thing is, I would think, and maybe I'm speaking out of ignorance, is applicable towards I don't know how to say the word. Pediophiliacs. I don't know what the word is.
yeah. Going back
Pedophiles.
to
Pedophiles. Yeah.
going back to your thing is because your whole premise here is like, why do you have to be accepting of one and
Yes.
okay, because it's
That's
about
my premise.
societal acceptance of it. Um, and I don't know that you have to be accepting of it. I
F
don't.
that. If we're going to sexuate which hole we put it in, then like pedophiles shouldn't be. I think it's a double standard, dude. It still boggles my mind on LinkedIn how that entire month we celebrate which hole people want to put it in. It boggles my no, Scott. It's about diverse. F that. It's about sexuality and how you like to have sex. And I think it's inappropriate. Cancel me. Seriously, it's
Yeah.
retarded. I said it. It's retarded. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine to have that opinion on it. I think that there's some like deeper things there that I think that are valuable out of it, but it's I don't like how it's kind of propped up as a like I don't know
it's
it,
not an
it,
achievement, right? So just like, for example, with Black History Month, we try really really hard to concentrate on what Black people achieved, right? What did Black people invent, right? How do they make society a better place? What positive contributions have they provided to humanity? That's what the motivation should be. You don't celebrate Black History Month because someone's wrapped in a certain pigmentation. You recognize their achievements and you say, we value your culture because of what your culture has brought to humanity. That's what
maybe
it's supposed to
yeah,
be. What the F is Pride Month?
yeah,
What
maybe
achievements are there?
yeah, maybe the deal is that is that it's a Black History Month and it's not, and maybe it should be like Gay History Month or something like that, not because would you call it like
With emphasis on
Black Month?
how is
Like,
society with focus on how has society been enhanced? What contributions have been made? Not
I mean,
which
you could,
hole do you prefer to
yeah,
put it in? And that's what it's about. It's a whole bunch of people wearing tights and waving flags like woo, and it's celebrating sexuality. Like, and that's fine at, like, I don't know, at some ranch house where there's an orgy happening, but like, why are we celebrating this in the professional workplace?
yeah.
It's retarded and stupid, but I'm the one that gets shamed for calling it out, calling a spade a spade. Up
So
that.
would it be let's just say that that doesn't exist, and let's say that instead it was was like Gay History Month, and like it did have like
Then put up Alan Turing,
that's
and
what
I
I'm
and I,
saying.
and I
Yeah,
would vouch for that, right?
yeah,
Put up
yeah.
I don't
Just
know if
yeah,
Edgar
yeah.
Hoover, what's his name? Edgar Hoover. How do you say his name?
J.
Well,
Edgar Hoover
J.
was he?
Edgar Hoover. He's a cross dress, right?
No,
Um, that was a
sure.
CIA director, right?
Yeah, I think
Or
so.
was it FBI?
FBI.
Anyway,
I think it was
like
FBI, right? Or
focus
maybe
on
it
the
was FBI.
contributions that people have made. I'm not sure if J. Edgar Hoover actually made contributions that America is proud of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't researched them, but
Yeah.
Alan Turing for sure, right? So
But then it wouldn't be like we put rainbows on our thing. It's like is it because nobody like on Black History
the
Month
Chat GPT
they
guy.
don't black out their like Facebook photos or like I don't even know what you would do or Asian Hispanic or any of the like heritage months. I like it's I don't know. Yeah.
Oh man, if we didn't have Asians or white people, we would all be living in forests and jungles. We would. I said that. Yes, I said
No.
that. Yes. So, and maybe if you also
You forgot
remove,
about the deserts.
well, the
Just
Arabics,
kidding. Yeah.
if you removed Arabs because they invented or discovered algebra, right? So if you removed Arabs, white people, and Asians, are Arabs considered? They're considered West Asian though, no?
I think their own.
To
They're
me,
kind of.
Asian is
There's
like
a lot of
Oriental.
different
To
ethnicities.
me, Asian
Yeah.
is Oriental, but people keep trying to beat it into me that Indians are Asian too. I'm like, all right, my
Yeah,
mind
they're
doesn't.
part of Asia, but they're not. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
all
what
right.
you mean. Yeah.
So basically, east of the Atlantic, we will all be living in jungles if it weren't for whites, Arabs, and Asians. We would, right? Which means Hispanics and Black people, we would still be primitive. I believe that. Besides the Mayan calendar, show me what other significant achievement that the new America or Africans have provided in the last 400 years.
Y-
The fact that you have to think about it
No, I mean,
is worth a
sorry.
discussion.
Like, well, I mean,
And
so
I could
so
say
the
that, right? Because I'm wrapped in this
but
color. You
yeah,
couldn't say that.
yeah, I can't say that. No, but like, so I mean, obviously the like Indian or Native American, South American tribes, they had great achievements in especially um like the
Gunpowder?
pyramids and city building and crops and all of like
Well,
horticulture and stuff. It's
agriculture,
it's
right?
hard to say.
But
The thing is
agriculture
that we
was
couldn't,
them burying like fish carcasses in the ground as fertilizer. I
yeah,
mean, that's what I was taught in public school, right?
but we don't necessarily know what the Americas would look like 500 years in the future had let's say nobody from across the pond ever come here. Like in a bubble, if you could go back and just put a wall around this and let it just function. Like, and is it, you know,
Yeah, okay, so let's go there, right? Because you're all about philosophy.
yeah,
W- What was wha- this is a sincere question. I'm not going to say I have all the answers, but I think I know this one. But I'm open to being corrected, right? Why do you think we had philosophers that had time to think and we had theories that had time to develop and technologies that were based on those theories? Why do you think that was incubated in I don't know, Greece and name some other areas in Europe, right? You've heard the term aristocrats, and you all obviously you've heard of Plato, Socrates,
yeah,
Pythagoras,
yeah, yeah,
etc. Right? You had a certain you had a demographic of folks that they didn't have the they didn't have the burden of having to uh, farm and hunt every single day. To that was their day, that was their life every single day. You had a demographic of people where they literally had time to think, time to say, what are we doing here? Why is the sky blue? And after a while, they started thinking, they started experimenting. I'm not sure if there was a upper middle class that was in the new Americas, aka North America, South America, 600 years ago, or even in Africa, right? I understand there's royalty, right? But I'm not confident that there was a large enough portion of well-to-do folks that didn't have the obligation or burden of farming and hunting every single day, and that was their focus, and they didn't have time to think about other things.
Well,
And I
yeah,
think,
I don't know.
and and the reason why I'm bringing that up is I have reason to believe, and I'm not sure if the same case is in like Japan or China. When they came up with gunpowder, that was the Chinese, I thought. But I'm not sure if the same case was made for them, where they literally had a large enough demographic of people where they had time to actually think and ask why, and then start experimenting, and then start developing off of those experiments.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
That's why I make the argument. Like,
Yeah, but the interesting. I don't think it's something inherent to the people. I just wonder if there was just a time threshold of
I think it's
it's just
absolutely
somebody got there first. You know.
no. So society is not allowed to say it, but I'll say it. Just like you have specific species of dogs that tend to
That tend to
be
be smarter.
that tend to be stronger in certain areas, right? Huskies, German shepherds, right, compared to a mini bull terrier that doesn't really receive direction very well, especially in public versus indoors.
Hmm.
It's fair to say that there are differences in us, and some cultures tend to be prone to develop more or faster in certain areas. I think when it comes, it's hard to like sugarcoat it, but I honestly think that, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be nice
I'm,
to
I'm
know
not
why.
I'm not saying the entire
Yeah,
ethnicity can't achieve the same thing. What I am saying is I can't explain why Jews, out of any other underrepresented um, group, tend to have the most Nobel prizes. Right? They tend to achieve a lot more. Right? Can you ignore that ethnicity? Like, I don't know. Like, I would say the same thing with the Chinese, Japanese. Like, it's something that people don't want to entertain, but I think that there might be areas where the brain function or cognitive function may be modeled differently across ethnicities. That's all I'm saying.
hmm. I don't know if that's true though.
I don't know if it's true either, but
There's a lot of really smart African people, and if you're just
yeah,
saying
they're
like,
Nigerian. They're called
yeah,
Nigerians.
yeah, well, so why is Nigeria special though? That's a valid question, right? Why is because there's a lot of really smart Nigerians, like incredibly
So,
smart. Why is that as a pocket like a thing? That's something that
well,
if you're saying like I'm not saying that everyone else is. I'm just saying when you think of very sharp
you'd be like,
like
those Somalians, yeah, but those Nigerians, those are
yeah.
smart, right?
I mean, you think too like white people. You don't think of like and I'm part Irish, so I can say this. I don't think of like the Irish people as being particularly like super intelligent.
I
You
think of
know,
Dutch people as being particularly super intelligent, as well as Germans.
yeah, or Danes maybe, yeah, Germans, yeah, but you don't think of so there's like so I'm not singling out. It's the same kind of relationship. I'm like, why are the German people, for instance, so mechanical and very like they have a certain um, engineering capability that maybe the Irish people and I'm of both those ethnicities don't have, or we don't think of them as having. It's like, but you could say the same thing about like Nigerians. Why are Nigerians like if I was to have like a foreign exchange student, I would expect him to be from Nigeria and I'd expect him to be like extremely smart.
The other
You know,
argument that
from Africa, I'm
the
saying.
other argument that we didn't discuss is
And don't forget the Swiss.
the other argument that we didn't discuss is war is the cradle of invention, and so whether that's
Well,
true
then
or
the Irish
not,
would be extremely crazy because they were at war freaking all the time. with the English. So
Were they?
yeah, I wonder if it's maybe like in Europe. Is it just is there just not enough land where people had to fight over things for? See, Africa's a huge continent, and America's a huge continent.
Well,
Europe
it's
is,
huge, but I mean, a quarter of it is desert, right? The Sahara.
yeah, Europe is very, very small. And if you take Asia, just the part of Asia that's livable along that coast there, it's not very big. Like China's huge, but most of it's uninhabitable. Like and you can't really farm it. And Japan's a lot, it's a big long island, but it's a big
Islands.
long island, yeah, or set of islands. So it's like I wonder if it has to do with how much general available space you have, and then like how much you'd have to actually compete over resources
Well,
within that constrained
I
thing.
mean, Japan was colonizing because I didn't think they had resources, so they were going into China, they were going into the
Well, they
Philippines.
had the sea, and then so they had that's they eat a lot of fish and stuff. So
I don't. I don't
maybe
think
that's
that's
why.
Japan. So Japan was an imperialist nation, but they were. My thought was they were the Asian version of conquistadors. They were like going overseas on the eastern half, and they were dominating. Uh,
Maybe it has to do with how much fish that people consume.
I'm allergic to fish.
Well, I mean, like if you think about it, if you're in a big land, land it locked or not landlocked, but you're in a big continent and you've got a lot of like, and I know the like Native Americans and eat a lot of fish probably, yeah, but I don't know. Do Africans do they eat a lot of
Well,
fish?
you have to be coastal, or you have to. If you're talking about Americas, like I mean, I've never been to any lake outside of a big lake, Great Lake, right? Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, Lake Superior, Lake
Yeah, and
Michigan.
I'm
That's it.
talking about like large quantities of like sea fish, like
Even if you had large quantities of sea fish, they didn't have industrial fishing like they've had within the past 100 years.
they'd have netting,
It
they'd
wasn't
build
industrial.
boats. Yeah, but you'd catch a lot of big fish with netting. I mean, you
Okay,
can. Um, s-
to feed a country or to feed a village
to feed a country.
more than 100 years ago. You're saying that you could lay a net that's a quarter of a mile long and
The ocean's got a lot of fish,
catch
man.
100 tons of fish within like half an hour.
I mean, if you're fishing out of like a small lake, that's different than going out in the ocean and catching a frickin' tuna this big with a
Okay.
net. I mean,
All right.
that's friggin' tunas are huge, man. And if you're able to, or
I don't know,
salmon,
man. Something
big
chased me out the
big
water
frickin'
last week.
salmons,
I didn't know what it was.
like probably a gator. But I mean,
It
if you
was an
think about it,
ocean, but yeah.
if you think about like Europe and it's like construction and Greeks and um, most of the people that live along the coastal areas or whatever, um, I just don't think of like the Africans needing to go out to fish. I'm sure that they fished, but I don't
How's
think of them as
how
needing to go out and
but
fish.
how's that map to progressive intelligence where you tend to dominate because of innovation?
the the oil, like fish oil, and I'm just saying that I wonder if there's a correlation there of how much nations ate sea fish and consumed sea fish, because Japanese, they consumed, I assume, tons of sea fish because they're literally right on the ocean. Oh, who's this guy? What up, .NET nerds? Luke Avedon.
Hey Luke, how are you? .net. You want to change topics? I feel like I think I always get you in trouble.
No, I'm not. I don't think I'd be in trouble for having a. I mean, people could look at conversations and be like, "Oh, he said something, whatever." But I don't mean like I don't. I don't understand why that anything we'd ever have said had been, cancelable or offensive or
We're basically recording conversations that we would normally have at the bar.
yeah, we're I mean, we're trying to come to some sort of understanding about the world, and you can't do that without having conversations. So I don't know why anyone shuts down conversation. As long as you're not being like overtly hateful towards someone or just ragging on people or whatever. You're having
You,
debates. It's
you have experience with the API gateways.
very little, but
They're cool.
yeah.
Um, so like I'm gonna tell you why they're cool. All right. The biggest selling point for me is uh, some defense against denial of service, right? Such as rate limiting, caching helps out. But my biggest or my favorite feature is the the validation that it does. So like within you've done Swagger, right? Or Open
Mhm.
API. The
I've
fact that I could
generated. Yeah.
the fact that I could add validation attributes to input fields, whether they're parameter or members of a body, and say minimum length, maximum length, required, as well as I could I could add a regular expression. I think the attribute's called pattern, and I could apply a regular expression saying that it needs to
Mhm.
conform to this pattern. It needs to start with these characters, end with that character. That stuff. So when it gets deployed, you can then run this validation policy or add a validation policy to this API gateway. I'm speaking within the context of Azure API management. And before it even hits your actual running instance of your minimal API or Azure function, whatever your
Yeah.
actual web service is, that API gateway will just automatically do the validation for you before it enters your instance of your application, your service. And I think that's dope. Now, I mean, the argument is you, you, you don't want to have a single point of failure, right? You still want to have some validation logic. Maybe some people argue equal amount of validation logic within the actual API that you're building. But I mean, it's easy to just tag something and the tooling just validates for you versus having to uh, imperatively implement it yourself. So that's why I like API gateways. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't actually like the concept of validation. Um, going outside of like when you're adapting into your domain model. Um, I don't know. I don't
you
like
don't think
that
your
stuff.
business domain should qualify if it should execute or not? Uh, a rule.
I think it should at the domain at that boundary into the domain is where validation should happen. Um, Not at your API layer.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's so like I'm a huge fan of the idea of, and the problem is that it's so frippin' like it's like hard to develop this way because languages just don't like there's a lot, especially in C# there's a lot of mapping to do. Um, but like I like the idea of smart constructors and composing types that match types and making it so that you could model everything to be
Domain
so that
primitives.
if you can construct this thing, it is a valid thing.
Yep.
And that's it. So you just get rid of primitives entirely. Everything's a type.
Everything's
Um,
a domain primitive.
yeah. So
So,
you know,
email, a social security number, in which, like you said, your smart constructor, if it can't, when it runs validation and that validation fails, then that domain primitive, such as the email or social security number, doesn't get created. So,
yeah. So, but that I don't think like that to me. Like, there's a layer you could do of like where this is the kind of validation that's going to happen. On some of these things, and put that up front to just try to block out layers before you even get beyond it. But I still feel like ultimately that's where the buck has to stop, is right at that adaptation to the domain. And that's not just from the outside in, it's from the from even the database inward. Like, because databases can change their report just like anything else, and databases can be changed outside of your domain. And if you don't validate coming in from your database in the same kind of way, you could easily have data that corrupts your domain model. So that's where I wish there was more of an idea of your domain's a big like circle, and to get into it you have to make sure that you build something that's valid 100% of the time, and then go execute whatever logic is in that domain. But that's just we just like we assume so much in software development that we
They have a new. This is unrelated.
yeah
They .NET Aspire. Does that
yeah
sound familiar to you?
yeah
You have a high
yeah.
level understanding of that?
So I'll give you my understanding, and then you could tell me where it's wrong or right.
No, you know more of it. Know more about it than I do.
What I understand is it's like infrastructure as code or whatever. You 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 like code up what you want your environment to be, or what you need your environment to be as part of your startup, and it just goes and creates it. That's the gist I got.
Hold on. So it's a competitor to Pulumi and Ansible and Terraform.
But it's different. But that's the way I got it, is that it's, rather than going and writing all this separate stuff, you just build it as part of your application. It just
Ye-
describes your
Yeah. So the latter part of what you said was my understanding. You heard of like Darklang?
yeah
Yeah, it sounds like the idea of Darklang, if I do understand Darklang, is you focus on the business solution and it abstracts away the the cloud infrastructure.
yeah
Um, I don't know how to say it any more succinctly than that. So you what's an example? Um, yeah, I haven't really gone to the documentation. I just got hip to it because when I was driving to Niagara and back in one evening, I was binge listening to .NET Rocks, and like two episodes came up talking about .NET Aspire, and that was
mm,
like 2 or 3 days ago. So yeah, I haven't even gone to any websites. It was all just audio going through my head.
yeah. I watch, is it David Fowler, is that his name,
Yeah.
on Twitter? He's constantly posting about it, because I mean he's building it, right?
You
So
ever watch Celebrity Deathmatch?
yeah.
I want to put David Fowler against Odie Trice.
Why?
Because what's that word? Caricature? I can't say the words, man. You got me hip to that term, caricature. You know, when the people exaggerate
Yep.
the yeah.
Features, yeah.
That's what Celebrity Deathmatch was. But no, they're two obviously very bright people. David Fowler, I never met him, but he's a distinguished engineer. Apparently, a distinguished engineer is one step below a technical fellow at Microsoft.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to want to be an MVP and I gave up because I'm too lazy when it comes to like writing structured,
Putting content out.
well thought out content. Yeah. I just do brain dumps for myself, not for others, so I could reference in 2 to 3 years when I get a similar project or problem.
Hmm.
When's the last time you searched for how to do something on the internet and then found something you wrote and that you forgot about that you actually
I don't
saw?
think I'll ever. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever have that again. It's so easy to just go to ChatGPT now and be like, Give me the answer."
It's happened to me probably half a dozen times. And I'm like, God damn, Scott, you were pretty invested and knowledgeable like 7 years ago. Damn, what happened? Like I used to WPF, man. I used to write some stuff out on Stack Overflow. So I love
Yeah, I
being
don't
a
know.
Xamarin too. And I I always recognize my writing style, right? Because you don't see your profile until you scroll a little bit down, and it's on like the bottom right of the answer.
Oh, on Stack Overflow.
Yeah, but I always
Yeah,
recognize the way that I write. I always use something that you'll recognize about me if you ever like if we ever work together and you're reading like an email or something. I use the word hence,
yeah, I know.
comma a lot.
Hence, yeah.
I use that a
Oh
lot.
no, I noticed it. If I saw hence, I would think of you because you say it all
Yeah.
the time. I don't even know if it's in the right context, but you always say it. You're like da 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 da. Hence, something totally unrelated. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, yeah. What got you hip to using hence as the word? I don't even.
I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and so the publications that they used to have, they they would use that at the beginning of a sentence after making a statement in the prior sentence, and so I just adopted it.
So it says as an adverb, as a consequence for this reason, a stiff breeze and hence a high wind chill.
No, no, no. I always use hence at the beginning of a sentence.
Yeah, I know. Um,
Oh,
I'm
you're looking
looking
at. Oh,
looking up
okay.
the actual definition of hence. Like, how are you supposed to use it? Is it 2 years hence? Hence could be in the future as well. So it could either be you're using it in terms of as a consequence for this reason,
Yeah,
um, but you're always using it as a almost like a conjunction, right? Like almost like an and, because you'd
yeah,
say something like X Y Z, hence
yeah.
a
I was say the sky is blue. Hence, the molecules that are observed are of this, that, and the
yeah.
other, thus giving the retina and the photons hitting it the illusion that the sky is blue. Like I I would write like that.
You should just look up a bunch of like old timey English words and start using even more like hitherto and
I want to start using the word unbeknownst. I don't use it enough. I don't use it at
unbeknownst
all. Yeah.
unbeknownst to me. Here's one that
I
I was
like
gonna
you.
say.
I
Is it
like using the word.
regardless
I like using
or
the word futile. I use that a lot.
futile,
Uh,
like the Borg?
well,
Um,
I adopted that word after watching a Star Trek
yeah,
movie.
the
Resistance is
Borg.
futile.
Yeah. Um, so the one that I was regardless or irregardless.
I'm not sure irregardless is a word,
I
is
don't
it?
think it is, but I always say regardless, and then my dad goes irregardless, and I go, huh?
Luke Abaddon says, "I'm well. Love the show. Oh, thanks. We're used to Gambler only
I'm
being.
worried that that guy's a bot,
I
like a
don't think
smart
so.
bot.
How does he know that we're .NET nerds?
Uh,
And he's saying I love the validation stuff, but never did it at all the way. You really think that's ChatGPT?
no, I don't know. It's just I'm not used to having anyone but Gambler here, so
Yeah, me too. I was getting my hopes up with
I
YouTube
thought
Premium, but he dropped us like a bad habit. So hence is the God's word. Uh, that's how I adopted it. Yes, Gambler.
always use hence. I don't know if there's any words like I use like that I overuse or unique styling there.
My late mentor, he would use the word superfluous. I still don't know what that means. And there's another word. He would say superfluous, and there's a word that starts with an F, and I can't think of it right now. What does superfluous mean? Hold up.
When I was in college, one of my buddies said that he we overuse a certain word all the time, and he's like, instead we should use absurd because it's way better of a word. So then I started using
Unnecessary,
absurd a
especially
lot
through
more.
being more than enough. So superfluous means unnecessary. I don't know why he would use superfluous instead of unnecessary. Okay. No, you know what word I hate? Well, there's a couple, but I got corrected. I corrected someone saying they tried to use the word conversate. And I was like, dude, that's not a word, man. You're just trying to sound smart. He's like, it is a word. I'm like, it's not. Right. I was like, look it up in Webster Dictionary, right? And he was like, why you gotta be Webster? I'm like, because they're known for dictionaries, like Band-Aid, right? Is known for bandages, right? He was like, sure enough, there was some form of Webster that had conversate as a word. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, I didn't know. I got smart. Did you know conversate was a word? Right.
No, I would have thought
I
converse
thought it
or
was just a whole bunch of ignorant people trying to sound
conversation.
intelligent. I was
But
like,
I
that's
suppose it's like probably to converse needs like a, because yeah, I don't know. What is conversate? I assume it's to converse.
to talk.
Conversate is an informal verb meaning to exchange thoughts and opinion. So we're conversating.
I hate. I mean, okay, I accept that it's in the dictionary, but I hate when people say that. It sounds overly complicated. We're talking. Why you got to add more syllables to it, right? So,
Hmm.
yo, is
I'm super confused about who's who.
Luke? Where you from, Luke?
I think Gamler might be Luke.
Nah. Well, hold up. He's using two different. He's using Twitter now. He's on YouTube,
Twitch and then YouTube, yeah.
Twitch. My bad. What did I say? Oh, I said
Twitter.
Twitter.
Twitter doesn't exist anymore. It's X, man.
I would never say X because one letter should not be an entire company
Why not?
because it's
Space
easily
X, App X.
like who's that X? Oh, your ex girlfriend, ex wife? Like no, man. It's people are always going to refer. People are always going to include Twitter when they refer to X.
Yeah, I suppose.
The Switch
Although
still,
people say X now, like if like get us on Facebook X, blah blah blah.
yeah. It's I wonder if they still have like bathtub chicks talking about nothing on Twitch. Let's find out. What do you think?
What was that question?
Do they still have bathtub chicks on Twitch wearing
Oh,
bikinis?
you mean hot tub chicks? Yeah.
Hot tub. What's the difference? Let me see.
No gaming. Wow.
Yeah, it's usually this one, right?
Be under
Just
just
chatting.
chatting. Yeah, I'm surprised Elden Ring's over League of Legends right now. Ooh, the AI Trump debate. Nice.
Where's the
Yeah.
hot tub? If you weren't here, I would click on this one. Where's the hot tub?
I know they got rid of it. Maybe who knows?
No, they didn't. They got too many simps that are willing to pay.
You know what? The main thing I hate about X is that something trends, but you don't know why it's trending. And there's no like, I need like an AI bot, and I guess I could probably ask Grok if I bought it, but like, why is this trending? It would be the question I'd ask all the time. Like, why is the Supreme Court trending right now again? Like, it trends like
I don't
every
see.
month.
Oh shoot! I didn't mean to do that. I did not mean to do that. Ah, I hit the back button. How you kill it?
You gotta like exit the window.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not on. I don't see any hot tubs. All right, that's a good thing. That's
Oh, there's a
progress.
whole hot tub category now, is what he said. What Gambler says.
Oh God,
So it's
where?
probably
Hold
not
up.
just chatting, it's probably hot tub chatting or something like that.
Oh, browse. Why is it showing video games? I'm
Because
confused. That
Twitch
says
was
Twitch TV.
primarily a video game platform.
Just chatting. Oh, they have channels specifically for video games.
Yeah, because that's what like it was primarily about up until like through 2 years ago.
Who watches other people play video games?
Oh, no, go up,
That's
scroll. A lot of people do. I watched people play video games this morning because it's not live streamers, but I watched the competitive arena. Um,
Loser.
League of Legends had their well, so like I don't know. There's it's like watching sports, right? So, and not so much streamers. And I play this game too, so you can learn some stuff. But when you watch like the professional league, have you ever watched like a professional video game?
No.
Here, go to like open a new tab and go to watch LOL.
Wait, we win.
And you can see the production value on it too. So like
Watch
watch
LLL.
space LOL, and then the first one that should come up is yeah. So go to LOL esports, and the one that I watched this morning is T1 versus G2 knockouts. Which spoiler alert, G2 lost. So G2 is the last Western team in what's called MSI. MSI is their mid-season invitational. So basically, it's like the top representatives from North America, Europe, Asia, and then there's like lesser China and Korea, and then Japan I think gets one, and then like Vietnam gets one, and then like Mexico gets one or whatever. But anyways, so they all compete at MSI for like a mid-season title, and then there's Worlds, which is actually the largest. I think it's the largest, if you want to call it sporting type event.
This is why the birth rate is declining in Asia. I get it now.
I don't know. I don't know if you've never played League. It's a really fun game. So those are the North American teams. They were out. Last one got knocked out. Was it 2 days ago? And G2, they're the top European team.
Why are
And
they
they
wearing
got knocked
athletic
out this
gear
morning.
for a video game?
They wear uniforms. It's uniforms. I mean, they actually. It was funny. One game I watched. They had to delay the start of the game because one of the guys wore Crocs on stage, and the rule books, the official rule books, say you can't have any sort of like open or whole shoe or anything like that. And so they had to actually pause the game, and he had to go change his shoes to be in to meet the uniform requirements. So
This is fascinating. This is literally on the other side of the planet.
yeah, so
That
so in Korea, T1, that one, they're a big deal, and in Korea, like this is like a whole thing people
Super
go
Bowl.
into. So yeah, it's like it's more accepting to be a professional gamer in Korea than in the U.S. But yeah, go to where they actually get into it. So there's and you could hear like the casting and stuff.
What does
Try
KDA stand for?
kill death assist.
Key.
So it's a ratio of your kills and assists versus deaths.
You're serious?
Yeah,
Oh
they have
wow.
stats on everyone.
What's KP?
Kill participation. So so if your team, it's how many kills you participated in your team.
What do you think has a
Yeah.
bigger following? Online chess or this? I'm addicted to chess, man. I
Probably
was playing it
this.
earlier
This
this
is
morning.
especially when you consider how many. Like this is a worldwide thing. It's got, and I don't know. It's
Oh, this looks like Halo Wars, except with different characters.
so this genre, this is called a it's called a MOBA, and it came out of Warcraft 3, which was an RTS like Halo Wars. So instead of having like an army that you're controlling, you control a single unit. So in this case, these are different champions that you're controlling, and each one has like 4 special abilities, and then like 2 spells you can pick, and then like there's whatever. And I don't know. You get into it. There's like objectives on the map. So like dragon there that they're trying to kill. If you get that so much, your team gets a buff, and then eventually becomes a permanent buff. And then there's yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would I used to so I was a general on Halo Wars, and hey, that video game was so stressful, man. I would manage like 3 different battlefields at the same time or simultaneously, and it was just I would spend like easy 4 or 5 hours playing that game a day, and there were some games that would take 3 hours. Like there would be stalemates, and I'm not tapping out, the other player's not tapping
Not
out.
happening. Yeah,
Three
I hit
hour,
that
three
with
hour
Age of
game.
Empires a few times. Yeah. Um,
And it's
these
just tit for
games,
tat. Like
I don't know what the average is anymore, but it's basically anywhere from like 15 minutes to I think the longest game I've had is maybe an hour and some. It's that's a rarity to go that long, but um,
yeah, I'm not a PC gamer. If I were, I would probably unfortunately go homeless playing this game. I
yeah,
I, I don't get a keyboard and a mouse when playing a video game. That doesn't seem natural to me. It doesn't seem intuitive.
yeah. I mean, you're point clicking, so and that's actually maybe the reason why. Like, so we're North America and is not at all competitive in the international scene anymore. Like they've had a few times where they've gotten there, but they're just not competitive compared to their to the Asian countries. So like uh, Korea and China are bananas. Like there's definitely a skill cap like thing. It's not like completely random. It's like otherwise you would see random teams winning. It's like this is a skill based game. So, but yeah, I get I don't know. So here's like a big team fight
Mm.
would be, and who's gonna get? Oh, they'll get wiped. But,
Shout out to the
yeah.
commentator keeping up with all this.
Oh yeah, dude, they're nuts.
That commentator's pretty good, man.
Oh.
Okay, I can't do it.
I don't know. Yeah, you'd probably like it though, because it's a
Oh, he says, I dig Scott's F sharp blog posts. I feel most of Sean's model validation concerns are solved by data annotation attributes.
they're
Me
not
too.
though. They're not though.
It's a single point of failure. It's not going to do everything, but it's going to do like the basic stuff, right?
But the thing is that you're talking about one potential port into your domain. Like the API is one, and if you're purely focused on just a small, very small, you know, like domain, it's probably overkill or whatever. But if you have like if you're trying to make it so that your software is reliable and only does what you want it to do, API validation isn't enough because the API isn't the only way. Like I should say the web API is not the only way data gets in. And I hate validating after the fact.
Well, so okay, data gets in from a command or a query.
Yeah.
That's how data gets in,
Or
unless
or a
unless there's
command or a query.
unless there's some type of like push notification or some
Well,
like
I mean, so
unless
you
data
might
is
have a
being
different
pushed,
transport. You might have a different transport. Might come in via via what is it called? Like
there's
uh
AMQP,
yeah,
there's
messaging.
SOAP,
Now you
there's
can convert that to an API request and just do a transport adapter, whatever. And I'll
no,
have it
no.
off
I
of
mean,
an
the whole point,
API, but
like, this is where you need to educate me because I'm not understanding what you mean. So the recommended practice is that you always slap an API in front of your database. Okay. And so, which means that the outside world has to go through your API, the database is hidden. Okay. What other mechanism? I know it probably sounds retarded, but I don't know. How else does data get in if it's not through the interface of API?
so yeah, you have an API, but you might have the thing is those data annotations, you can use them in other contexts, but they're primarily an HTTP ASP.NET Core like that's where they're used.
Which
Now,
is
you
the
don't have to use them there, but that's an API. You can have message. message consumers that represent another API. You pass
Okay,
a message,
I
a
understand what
command
you're saying.
message over a bus, and you receive it, and then you just push it in.
I understand what you're saying.
Additionally, those aren't the only way, because when you pull, because if anyone has any direct access to the database whatsoever, you've also now produced a scenario too where data can be manipulated outside of your application. If you go and run any script, if you have any way to run a script against your database that's not first run through your application, then any data coming out of your database you have to not trust as well. I mean,
Well, I understand what you're saying, but the whole point is the the, the only client to the database, in theory, should be the API,
yeah, should be.
which means the database should be configured with permissions, in which a constrained set of permissions, or what is it, least privilege principle, whatever, is for the API. That the API is the only client to that database, and any other things that try to access that database or that
So how
code.
do migration scripts run?
How do migration scripts run? That would be another client, right?
It's not going through your API. So
No.
you could write it. You could write a migrator that does something that breaks your domain. It breaks the assumptions. If you leave assumptions in your domain, I should say, breaks the assumptions in your domain, and then blows up your entire application. So
Your
if you want things to be, the thing is that like the domain in the middle has to have this kind of like, I control what the view of this domain is. I am the model, and if you can model invalid states within that model, um, and then you like, you potentially, it doesn't matter where the data comes from. You can have this all get hosed up over time. So I just like the idea of building up when you're building up your domain to execute some sort of thing, regardless of whether that's coming from an API or from your database, from a any sort of port into that. There should
so
be.
I recommend. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I
No, it's fine.
recommend that you add this book to your library. Right? It's called Secure by Design. It's this book, right? Why didn't this show up in the? Hold up. Do I need to?
Oh, it's fine. I know what you mean. I've heard
Yeah,
you talk about it before.
it's a really good book, and it basically is saying what you're saying.
Yeah, there should be no trust in any thing that goes in your domain. Everything needs to be, and yes, you do validation, but I don't like the idea of validating it on the edge and then just mapping in, assuming that that was enough, because now you have edges that might be out of sync with each other.
Actually, hold up.
Like, I think of that as a great first line of defense, but I don't think of it as being the end state. Like, okay, it passed validation, it's good to go. I guarantee to have good data here. No, it's, you should construct your types then with that and use your type system to constrain like your domain.
Yeah, it's this book right here, Secure by Design.
Yeah.
You see my presidential library? I'm
Yeah, it's a
smart,
great
man.
library.
Designing APIs, weapons of chess, practical cybersecurity architecture. This book is like freaking almost 800 pages, man. I'm like halfway through.
Hmm.
API security, yeah. So this book I couldn't understand. This art of attack and chess. This is a really good book. System design interview. This was the sequel to this one, System Design Interview. But this is volume 2. And then this is my collection of books for Azure certifications.
You trying to learn Spanish?
This is an old book from like probably 7 years ago. I read like 2 paragraphs in this React book and I gave up.
Yeah.
This is me on my closure journey.
I had a moment yesterday where I was like, God, I wish I had this TypeScript thing in C#. I was like, this sucks. You know what I really want is like the ability to create types from other types. It's um the ability to flag something as partial would be like super nice. Now, because there's so much nullability in .NET, I probably could have got away with it, but I just want to say I want this thing, but I want everything on it to be optional. And then I like being able to compose types out of other types with just helper types. It's, yeah.
I don't even know what this book is about. Design it. I gotta probably read the first chapter
Create
again.
discipline.
I think we both need to get back to work.
I'm not working today,
Slacker.
but you probably have to. Yeah, I'm getting ready to go camping here, so
Enjoy. Let me see
yeah.
if
Getting ready to go camping's never fun though. Then
Roman
you get to
says, "Man, do you read all this properly? Great discipline." Yeah, about I would argue about 95%. Yeah, about 95% of those books I read from front to back. This collection is over like probably a decade of me reading. But and dude, most of those books I get because I'm trying to learn how to do something for a new job. It's not like I just, oh, I'm Scott Nimrod. I'm a nerd. I just do this in my pastime because I don't have a girlfriend. No, it's I'm trying to make money. And I know that there's a skill set that I need to figure out within the next 2 weeks. And so I'll buy like 2, 3 books and I'll try to consume the books within like 2, 3 days so that I can sound smart when I'm in conference calls about what they need me to do. So hence that's what I did with my current job is API development. And I've never really had like formal like education on the art or methodologies of designing API. So I just bought like 4 or 5 books and I just consumed them like overnight. So I sound really smart at work. That's it. Same thing with open or with Azure API management or your API gateways. So the only thing is it's a rabbit hole. You could just keep going deep and deep and deep and deep, and it's hard to get out.
yeah, I could imagine. All right, I'll let you get back to work.
All right,
So,
it's been real. See if I get canceled from earlier discussion about pedophiles and LinkedIn being complicit with LGBTQ, celebrating sex in the professional environment, all that other stuff. So, all right, see you.
all right,
Bye.
see ya. Yep. Bye.
See you, Roman. See you, Luke. Bye.